Hello, hello. Steve, Canadian Sasquatch, coming at you with another Mead Monday. That's right. It's a Mead Monday. I'm going to go over one of you guys' questions. Again, a couple of you have been requesting some information on equipment and what you need, what you might need, what you might want. So I have dug out some of the stuff that I use, and we will go over some of that. But first, Mead methodologies, still on sale. Always going to be on sale, along with the CSD Make Mead Be Happy shirts. Links down below for the store, which will also have a bunch of this stuff. So if you like what you see, there's probably a link to it in my store. So check it out. Also down below is the links to all my social medias and all that nonsense. So let's just get into things. The first thing you're going to need to make mead is something to ferment in. I prefer buckets. This is a 6-gallon bucket. It happens to have a faucet on it. This is typically used for bottling. I didn't bring my bottling wand out. That's all right. So yeah, a bucket. I prefer buckets because it gives you much more space to be able to mix in. It's easier to get your ingredients in and out of. Speaking of mixing, we have a long-handled plastic spoon. Homebrew shop is where I got this. It was part of a kit when I got a beer making kit. You can upgrade from plastic to stainless. I prefer the stainless for when I'm brewing beer, and because it's more heat resistance than the plastic. Either one is good. If you're using a steel one in a bucket, you need to be careful, though, not to scratch up the bottom of the bucket with the tip of the spoon, because you don't want to scratch into the plastic bucket for sanitary reasons. So yeah, sometimes you need to stir it inside of a carboy. That's where one of these bad boys comes in. So it's a drill power. You attach the drill on this side. Wine stirrer. So it just ends up stirring like this. And you just put it on the drill, and it will spin back and forth as you do it to mix up whatever you're mixing. These come in a variety of different types. You can get metal shafts, plastic shafts. You can get all metal big ass ones. I accidentally just recently bought one of those, and they're for stirring things up in a 53-gallon barrel. Not very good for when you're dealing with glass, because it's all steel. It'll tear things up. So yeah, so that's how you stir things. Excuse me here. We're going to take a sip of my tasty beverage. This is my grilled pineapple mead. Cheers, everybody. Well, that's some good stuff right there. So the next thing is when you're done with your primary fermentation, you need someplace to put it after that. I'm a fan of glass carboys for that. This is a 2.5-gallon one. I got it at Whole Foods. It was filled with water. Mountain Valley spring water. So yeah, you go to places that sell water by the 5-gallon. Hey, 5-gallon carboys, either plastic or glass. Like I said, I prefer the glass ones because once it's in secondary or beyond, it's going to be sitting in there for a long time. And I want to make sure that the flavors and aromas don't stick into the plastic. So yeah, that's essentially the stuff for getting it mixed up and fermenting. Funnel. I'm not doing these in any particular order, really, just what I'm grabbing here. So funnel, help get those ingredients into the carboy if you're going to be doing like wood or other liquids or something. It's easier to get those into the carboy with a funnel. Now, if you're transferring mead, you'll want a racking cane. This is just a standard racking cane. It's got a little doohickey here to help reduce or completely stop the flow as needed. And it's just for going from one vessel to the other. The best way to do this is to fill it up with star sand. And you cap off the tops with your thumbs, and you put this side into the bucket or into the next vessel, and you get that suction just slowly going as you put this into what you're going to be racking out of. That's the most sanitary way to do it. The other way that a lot of people will do is they just put this into what they're racking and then just suck it on out and put this in this other end into whatever is going on. There is, of course, a better way, which is the auto siphon. And that is, you put this into what you're siphoning, you put this into where you're putting it, and you just pump it. And it creates the suction by itself, so you don't have to fill it full of sanitizer or suck it or any of that nonsense. Super easy. I use them all the time. They do break down when you wash them with PBW or sodium percarbonates. For some reason, that breaks down the hard plastic that are in them. And so the other thing you're going to need is a way to measure your gravity. So you need a hydrometer. And then you also need a hydrometer jar thingy so you could measure the gravity to see if your meat is done, because you do not want to bottle your meat if it is not finished. So hydrometer and hydrometer jug. Thermometers. You also need a thermometer because you need to know what the temperature is of your mead when you're using the hydrometer, because hydrometers are calibrated to a specific temperature. And if you don't have it set to that specific temperature, then your readings will be off. So you can do some calculations. There's tools on my website for dealing with all that stuff as well. How do you get the mead into the test jar for the hydrometer? Use a wine thief. So this is just a glass wine thief. You put it into the vessel, you put your thumb on top, you pull it out, and you just let it run back out. That way, the amount that you need just from this. Quick and easy. I like the glass because it's easy to clean, easy to sanitize, and it just looks kind of cool. It usually has caps on either end, but last time I used it, I was waiting for it to dry, and I never grabbed the caps when I came out here. And speaking of caps, once you put the stuff in the bottles, you gotta cap them somehow. So this is just a handy-dandy bottle capper. For beer bottles, you put the beer bottle cap right here. It's held by a magnet. You put it on top of the bottle, and yeah, just press it on, come off, and your bottle is capped. Now, there are many different types of cappers. This is just a super cheap one, and unless you're doing like a lot of bottling, like more than a case, then this is plenty good. If you're doing wine bottles, then you'll need something like this crazy contraption. So what you do is you put the cork in here, squeeze this tight, squeeze the handles here tight, over top of the bottle right here, and then you put the plunger down, which plunges the cork into the bottle. So yeah, it's super simple. Again, there's a lot more better contraptions than this if you're doing a lot of them. I use this one when I'm doing small batches, like 1 gallon or the 2.5 gallon ones. I just break this out. If I'm doing something else, then I have something that's called a Brewery Italian floor corker. So it does essentially the same thing as this one, and I have an attachment to make it do the same as this, which makes things a lot faster and a lot easier just to bottle and cork all the bottles. So when you're making your mead, you also need to weigh your ingredients. So you need a scale. You need a scale that can measure out a lot of stuff. So this here is a 22 pound or a 10 kilo scale digital. It's kind of nice because this actually pulls apart. So you can set your bucket on top of the scale, pull this out so you can actually see what you're doing. When you're doing the fine powders and such, I need to measure those out in smaller increments than just an ounce or a quarter ounce. You can get one of these little scales, which are good for 100 grams at 1,000th of a gram increments. So nice small for those powders, all those white powders that we deal with. Sometimes people will call this a pot scale because I don't know, honestly. No. So I know I'm talking fast and I'm going through a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff. For the most part, this is the basics. I've got another one right here going back to measuring gravity. It's a refractometer. It allows you to measure the gravity of whatever you're making with just a drop right here. And you look through the eyepiece and it tells you what it is. This particular one does do bricks and gravity. You gotta be careful because some of them are only just bricks. And since a lot of time we do bricks or specific gravity, so like bricks is like a 15 bricks, or specific gravity is like a 1.023 type number. So that's a thing. This one is also has automatic temperature not control, compensation. So it doesn't matter what the temperature is, it adjusts for that temperature. So you want to make sure when you're getting that one, you get the ATC. I do have a link for this in my store, as I mentioned. So yeah. I'm running out of stuff, which is good because this video is actually taking longer than I thought it would. Mesh bag. For when you're putting those ingredients into your bucket and you don't want them, and you want to be able to pull them out, you need a mesh bag. You can go to your homebrew store and buy a single mesh bag for like $5. You can go to Home Depot and you can buy a paint strainer bag where it's like $5 for $5. Or you go on Amazon, and I accidentally, I thought it was just 5 bags, but it was 5 bags of 5 bags. So 25 bags for like $5. So shop around for these. I do not have these in my store. I will try to put them in my store. But yeah, just super handy. It's a paint strainer bag. You don't need the fancy homebrew bags. You sanitize these by soaking them in the Star San. I wouldn't boil them because, especially the ones with the elastic. So yeah, so that's that. And I have one more thing here, going back to the spoons. So another thing we do when we're making mead is we not only mix things, but we degas. So we use the spoons and the stir for degassing. But when we're initially making it, we're also oxygenating. So we're adding oxygen. So we stir it really vigorously to get the oxygen or air into the mead. This contraption will allow you to add pure oxygen to your must. That way you can you don't have to worry about stirring it. So what it is at the end here this is called an air stone. It is just a hunk of metal with a lot of very fine holes drilled throughout it, attached to a tube with a little filter. This little disc thing here is a filter to this contraption. And what you do with this side is you screw it on a bottle of oxygen that you can get at your big box stores over by the welding or brazing area in those big box stores. A bottle of oxygen, you screw it on here, you just crank it open until this thing starts hissing around in the mead. 30 seconds of that and you're good to go. And it doesn't have to be violently bubbling, just a little bit of bubbles on the top. You just move this around while it's doing that, and you're good. You have oxygen. Oxygen for days. This just keeps getting better and better as it ages. So yeah, so that's essentially my core set of gear that I use when I'm making mead. You can get different sized buckets for fermenting in. I prefer like the 6-gallon ones because I do 3 to 5 gallon batches of mead. The carboys for secondary, you can get the 1 gallon, you can get a half gallon, you can get all the way up to like 14 gallon. So it's just all a matter of choosing what's right for you at the moment that you're doing stuff. A lot of this stuff came about as I started making mead, and you can get a lot more stuff as well. You can get fancier scales, you can get fancier equipment for reading the gravities and the sulfurs and all that inside of mead. Like I said, I have better corker and cappers, but the basic, all you need to make mead is a bucket, something to stir with, and that's it. Like a lid, of course, for the bucket, and an airlock. I don't have an airlock here with me. But yeah, that's all you need to make a batch of mead. If you watch my Mead Methodologies video series, you'll see we make a batch of Joe's Ancient Orange. We use a 1 gallon jug of water and a balloon for an airlock, and that's all we use. We don't use anything else. We just put everything in that jug, shake it. We do measure out the honey, so a scale would be helpful if you don't know how much honey you have in your jars and all that. But again, honey is sold by weight, so you'll know exactly what's on the jars. That's weight. So yeah, so that's it. That's a lot of equipment. If you guys have any questions about any equipment specifically, we can go into more detail. But for now, that's it. Questions, hit me up in the comments down below. Hit me up in those social media links that are down below if you prefer that. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, if you liked the video. If you learned something, give me a thumbs down if you thought it sucked. I know it was a bit rushed and a whole lot of stuff coming at you. If you haven't already, I invite you guys to subscribe. And with that, my friends, I'm going to call this Mead Monday a close. So, be sure to have a pint of awesome. I know I will. Cheers, everybody.